Hey guys, welcome to the One Delightful Podcast,
where we believe life should be simple.
but awesome. I'm Katie.
And I'm Philip, and we invite you to join us on a journey as we try to start a new business and grow our family.
While trying to clear through the clutter of life to create space for what really matters.
And trust us, if we can do it,
Anyone can do it.
on today's show,
We're going to highlight 5 shows you might want to binge watch over the holidays.
and we are going to have a lively conversation about setting goals for the new year.
So exciting. Today's show is sponsored by our Amazon affiliate link.
Oh, Amazon affiliate link, what is that?
So you can support us in a small way by when you're shopping on Amazon using our link. It's no extra cost to you, but it gives us a tiny little, what's the word? Encouragement?
Boost,
Boost.
shot in the arm.
But it's, so as I said, it's no extra cost to you, but it shows us what you buy. It doesn't tell us who you are, don't worry. But we are going to be highlighting some of our favorite items.
What's our item for this week?
It is the foam pet stairs.
Foam pet stairs. I didn't know that pets needed stairs.
Honestly, when I saw this, I was like, I guess my parents could use this.
Oh,
But
yeah,
then
because if your dog has a bad back,
Yeah, dachshunds. It's a chronic problem.
it's a chronic problem.
So somebody is going to be giving their pet confidence with easy access to their favorite hangout area with these high-density 3-tier pet steps.
So if your pet needs to get on your bed,
Couch.
get up to the kitchen counter to get its own food,
What else would it need?
maybe up to a bathroom vanity to brush its teeth or take a look at itself in the mirror,
Can I do a sidebar? Do you think this is weird or not?
sure.
I know someone that used to feed their dog bacon through, they'd put the piece of bacon in their mouth and then lean down and feed it to their dog.
Oh, like a Lady and the Tramp kind of moment.
Weird or not weird?
Well, I don't think I'm going to answer that question.
Okay. We won't ostracize you if you do that, but... So thank you for whoever bought the pet stairs. We hope you love them. And if you want to support the podcast, you can use our Amazon link in the notes.
Katie, holiday travel is upon us. Holiday break.
Yeah, it is. Unless you're watching this in January. I mean, listening by watching.
Maybe you're watching your phone and seeing that picture of us holding that cup of coffee while you are listening to us talk.
That'd be strange.
But anyway, there is time off
Right.
during this season.
For a lot of people, not everybody.
Not everybody, that's right. And you know what we like to do in our time off.
Watch TV.
Binge watch TV as much as possible.
By binge watch, we mean watch maybe...
One episode a night and then fall asleep.
Yeah, or 2 maybe if we're feeling
if
crazy.
We're feeling real crazy, real crazy.
But I always love getting a good TV recommendation, don't you?
I do. And so we are going to give you 5 recommendations of shows you could binge watch over the holidays if you're looking for something new to tickle your holiday fancy.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm going to list my first one and it's still coming out, but as this podcast airs, it should be closer to done. So mine is the show Dirty John. Philip loves the title of that show. It's based on a podcast that I really enjoyed that's based on a true story. And so I've been really enjoying this show as it comes out every Sunday night. I watched it on Monday. I feel happy. Even though it's kind of a sad show, I don't know. Someone explain that dynamic to me.
You just love these sadistic shows, and I don't understand it.
It ends well.
But if you're like Katie and you like sadistic documentaries, or this isn't a documentary, right? This is like a historical reenactment.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
guess
you'd see
that's
on
what
the
I would
Discovery
say.
Channel.
Yeah, right.
But it's like the People versus O.J. Simpson. It's actors
Which is
playing the
also a
roles
really
of,
good one.
Yeah,
that one's
is a
for
really
free.
good one.
That's number 6.
That's number 6.
It's on Netflix now.
But if you don't want something totally sick, this is a little bit in that category, but I'd say it's more like a thriller.
Yeah.
We watched Homecoming. It's a new show on Amazon. You've probably seen TV commercials about it, but it has Julia Roberts in it. and it's about troops who are coming home with PTSD from the Afghanistan war, and a company that's trying to help them cope with it, but with a very thrilling twist. But we really enjoyed it.
That was also based on what? A book or a podcast?
That was based on a podcast.
What's up with that?
I don't know.
It's the wave of the future.
It's like television people can't come up with their own ideas, but I love it.
Okay, so the next one is, which one should I do, Philip? Okay, so I heard this one was good. It gets really good Amazon reviews. It's called The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Did I get that right?
I think that you did. And just a little sidebar on that. It does have some suggestive imagery and language.
Yeah.
So you might not want to watch it around little children.
Oh my gosh, I wouldn't watch any of these around kids except for like one of them. So this is post kids bedtime shows, if you're wondering. But I don't even know what this is. We're still watching this, but I've enjoyed every episode we've watched.
Yeah, I feel like you can't say too much about it because it sort of gives away the twist. But it's set in the 1960s about a young couple who gets married.
Jewish couple.
And the husband wants to be a stand-up comedian. But
Should
then
you stop there?
hijinks ensue.
Okay.
But it's been very
Yeah.
interesting.
So I've liked that. That's been a good surprise.
Okay, and my next recommendation, if you're more in the I just want total fluff that I don't have to think about reality TV home stuff, we do have a new HGTV recommendation that we had never seen before until we were just browsing the show categories, but we've liked it. It's called Restored by the Fords. It's interesting in that it's a younger brother and sister team that are restoring mid-century modern houses, which aren't our favorite, right?
You like them.
I do like them.
If we weren't together, you might end up in a house like
I'd
that.
probably live in a very square-shaped minimalist house. But the show is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say I love everything she does. She has a very distinct style. And if she came to my house, I would have some strong suggestions.
I don't think she'd come to our house.
Why? Because it's not mid-century modern?
Because they live in Pittsburgh, and I have a feeling the cost to get them up here would
If I
just be
moved to
astronomical.
Pittsburgh and could be on that show, I would just have some strong opinions. So I don't love everything, but it's almost kind of fun to watch it just to see like, okay, this is really outside of the box of what I would choose. But it, you can kind of find what you like.
And it's only a half an hour, so it's short too.
True. And she reminds me of myself because she's incredibly impulsive.
That
So watch for
is
that. If you're
correct.
watching it, watch how she'll decide she wants to do something.
And
she-
you'll understand how Katie contributes to renovation projects.
And Philip will be like, why isn't she sanding that first? Because if you've ever painted anything, you usually have to like prime it or like, sand it or, prepare the surface. But she just seems like she's just like, I just want to see what it looks like real
She
quick.
just walks around everywhere with a can of white paint and starts
Yeah.
painting stuff.
So that's a good short watch. Okay. And then our last one is a Netflix documentary that I think came out last summer.
And we've talked about it before, but just in case you haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's a really good one. And I think that I feel like shows like become trendy and then nobody watches them anymore or people stop talking about it. But this is a good one that's, came out this summer and it's about I guess it's about the group of people, a cult. It's about a cult.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely a cult.
But a cult that ends.
Unequivocally.
Well, I was trying to think if it was more about the property, but they end up settling in the U.S. and it's just very fascinating.
What's it called?
Oh, it's called Wild Wild Country. Rajneeshi.
Yes, and it's a little
No,
bit.
it's not called Rajneeshi. I'm just
It's
like
called
trying
Wild Wild Country. That's what the name of the cult was.
I'm just trying to throw out all the things I know.
And it's a little bit in like the strange category, but it wasn't like I can't watch sadistic stuff like
Right.
Katie really, really enjoys to
Shut
watch.
up. I did just start a John Grisham documentary.
But I did like The Firm, both the movie and the book.
This is
and
about.
the Pelican
Anyways,
Brief.
never mind. Go on.
Anyway, Wild Wild Country. We'd suggest it, but again,
Yeah.
I would not watch it around small children.
Or maybe I think it might freak me out if I watched it alone at night. What do you
there
think?
you go. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, so what would you add to the list? You can, email us or get in touch with us on social media. What would you add to our list? So, Philip, the new year is almost upon us.
Which is crazy to think about because there's such a run up to Christmas.
True.
But the new year comes right after. Here, this just in, breaking news. You hear it here first. The new year comes a week after Christmas.
Yeah, I feel like it is a little bit, it's overwhelming to feel like you're like the hustle and the bustle of the holidays. And then all of a sudden the new year is almost there and you're like, oh, I got to change everything.
Right, you got to shift from Christmas mode.
And
right
I got to be a
into,
new
like,
person in 2019.
Yeah, New Year's goal setting mode.
Right.
So Christmas isn't even here yet, but I feel like now is a really good time to talk about what we're doing to set goals for the new year, because you might be starting to think about that too.
However, if you're still in full-blown holiday mode, you do not need to feel bad about like also needing to set goals for the new year.
Or if you're in full-blown holiday mode, holy cow, you need to carve out some time to start thinking about your goals for the new year.
Philip, okay.
Or you will stay the same forever.
But I feel like...
Do you feel like fear is a good motivator to get people to do stuff?
And it depends on what number they are on the Enneagram.
That's a good point.
So if it's me, yes, I'm a 6. Very motivated by fear. So, a lot of times I feel like if I was setting goals in January, sometimes I felt behind already. And that's kind of silly.
And I think for me...
Because it's really just arbitrary.
If I set goals in January, it's not that I feel behind. It's more that I feel like I'm making decisions about the whole next year sort of last minute. Just, more out of like superstition or tradition than out of like, okay, let's think about how we want to make this year different. Like thinking about it now gives more time to process it and set like realistic goals that I actually want to do.
Right. Well, I think now too can be like December 26th, December 27th.
Maybe even December 28th.
I know, get
depending
crazy.
on how sharp you are.
How what?
Sharp.
Sharp. You said shop.
Sharp.
Oh my
gosh.
gosh.
I did it intentionally.
Okay. I was like, what did you just say?
So we're going to take some time today and talk about the process that we've gone through to start to set our goals for next year, and to talk about some tips that we found helpful as we set goals, just to maybe, get the juices flowing for you if it's something that you'd like help thinking through.
Yes, and we're going to provide a worksheet too that you can find in the show notes on just some ideas on how to work through this process.
And I feel like, probably like in most things, we're very different as we come to thinking about goals.
Yes.
And there's part of it that is incredibly frustrating for both of us, because I'd say you potentially are more of the free spirit.
Right.
And I'm a little bit less.
I'm
of
the
that.
right brain, you're the left brain.
Oh, is that? I never remember which side's which.
Yeah, that's right.
So there's some frustrating stuff that comes out of like coming to this task very differently.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like there's also really good stuff that comes out of it too, because we have such different perspectives that I feel like it helps us set better goals because we're not just looking at it the same way.
Right.
So, and also to say, man, if we can do this, anybody can do this.
Oh my gosh, that's the theme of this podcast. So, for us, because we're a married couple, we like to do some of this process together.
Still married, huh?
Yeah, we are.
That's
10 years.
fantastic.
So, where should we start?
I think let's just start from the beginning. Okay, so what was the process that we sort of decided on this year to set goals?
Well, so Philip had listened to a podcast on setting goals, and this couple, they do a retreat together, which sounds amazing. And we traditionally have gotten away sometime during the holidays, but we didn't this year. So a retreat would be nice, but because we did not have the ability to do a retreat, I felt like just separately coming up with some stuff. And for me, the first helpful step is just to kind of like brain dump, get your ideas out on paper of what you wish this year could be about, what, like are things that are on your heart and mind that you would like to be different. And I've always been like a person that's like to journal, but I know my friend Katie, that's like an Enneagram 1, she has a hard time writing down thoughts that she feels like are imperfect. So if you're somebody like that, try to just give yourself permission to kind of put out on paper, what do you wish this year could be like? And you can also give yourself permission to throw it away at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like one of the takeaways from this podcast that we hadn't done before, a lot of times when we've set goals in the past, it started by saying, hey, we should probably set some goals for this year. And that's where the conversation together starts. But in this podcast, it was like a Dave Ramsey EntreLeadership podcast, which I normally just think is okay, but this one was really good. Before this couple went on a retreat to set goals, they each individually took time to think through what sort of categories and what goals they wanted to set individually for the year, so that when they came together to talk about it, and for us, we didn't do a retreat. We just had like a couple hours one morning that we set aside to talk about it. We weren't starting from scratch. We were starting from having thought through the process a little bit. So we decided to do this separately first. And the first step of going about setting the goals, we both did sort of just like a brain dump, which for you, I feel like fits with your creative mind. And for me, make sure that I'm not just thinking about like the two categories that I'm fixated on and nothing else.
Yeah, and I think if you're doing something like this as a couple, I don't know about you, but Philip is a little bit more dominant, opinionated, right? Strong.
I don't know if it's that. I think it's more organized conversation is easier for me because I'm constantly trying to like create order out of the chaos, right?
Okay. Yeah, but it's also that like I think you can think on your feet really quick and I more need to process things. I'm a little slow.
But
That's
that
a joke.
goes
But
to
but
taking the time individually
yes,
helps you.
yes, exactly. So I think if we just jumped into doing this together, I think I would have ended up more with like Philip's goals and been kind of frustrated. But because we took time separately to think through stuff, it's like we were both coming with our ideas, so it could be a conversation.
Yeah, and I'd say if you're single walking through this, it still is helpful to have a conversation partner to like talk about this stuff with, because having somebody else's perspective speak into what you're thinking is huge. And then the accountability factor that comes from having somebody else like ask you if you're doing the stuff that you wanted to do is super helpful. So regardless of where you are in life, I think the idea of having a partner that you're walking through it with is huge.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, I actually remembered that when I was in college, one of my friends and we like shared goals with each other, you know, so it was like you weren't just doing it in a vacuum.
Absolutely. Yeah. I say absolutely a lot when I feel like I need to fill the blank space. Absolutely.
I feel so affirmed.
I guess that's what it is. I'm trying to use an affirming word that then moves us on.
Maybe I'll start saying absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay, so once we've done a brain dump, what should we do next?
So individually, we each did a brain dump, which I think that's easier for you than it is for me.
Yeah, because that's how I think, is like scattered all over the page.
Which is, it speaks to how this could happen a lot of different ways, and you got to try to appreciate the differences.
Philip never writes anything on paper. It goes straight to computer. He had like a journal last year. It was on computer. He just typed. I'm like, I could never do that.
I don't know. I just feel like, eco-friendly.
Very good.
But it allows me to organize the thoughts easier. So when we by ourselves each did a brain dump, which is easier for you than for me, and then from there did a little bit of organization into here's our hopes and dreams, and here's like some categories, that they fall into.
Right.
Before we came together and had the conversation, which the organization part is a little bit easier for me, probably. And when we came together, I had my computer that had categories: faith, family, marriage, personal health, business, and then subcategories underneath of that. And you came with a sheet of paper with a lot of like scattered words with circles around some of them.
Yeah. And so...
And I don't say that to say one's right or one's wrong, but just to say we start from very different points, and we have to figure out how to work it out together.
Yes. And I cannot stop talking about the Enneagram. I think a lot of people can't stop talking about the Enneagram. But
it's the wild, wild country of personality tests.
Yeah.
The hot new thing.
So I'm a 6, or I believe that I'm a 6 on the Enneagram. And a 6 has a hard time being sure of any decision. And I even think this kind of comes down to the goal thing to me too, because it's hard for me to say like, yes, that's what I want to do. Mm-hmm. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's hard for me to say absolutely. Okay, so now what's next?
So we each did our thing individually, then we came together. And speaking to that for you, I feel like coming together after we had thought about stuff a little bit we actually had a really we had 2 goal conversations. The first, I would say, was very productive the first time we talked, and then the second one I feel like was not as productive.
Right.
But I feel like the first one that was productive was in part because you had a chance to think through this stuff a little bit more, and so we had a lot better launching off point.
Yes.
And I think some of the idea that this couple that we had listened to talked about was...
Which you should probably just put a link to.
I'll do that. We'll put a link to that podcast in the show notes. But one of the things this couple talked about was by setting stuff individually, when they came together, there was some stuff where there was just automatic synergy. But then there were some categories where the goals weren't exactly the same. But that conflict is sort of good because one person doesn't just get overshadowed by the other person. You're sort of forced to say, this is what I'm thinking. Okay, this is what I'm thinking. How can those things come together in a way that's mutually beneficial?
Right.
Or where you intentionally say, I'm going to give up on what I'm thinking for the sake of, us being together on your goal.
Did this couple work together?
I think a little bit.
Okay. Because I think there's definitely some stuff that's just like individual, right? Mm-hmm. Like you want me to be healthy, but you're not going to like be like, you need exercise 4 times a week.
That's right. Although I do at 8 a.m. show up wherever you are sometimes with a whistle and a headband to say, all right. And then I lead you in some calisthenics.
That's not true. If you weren't sure, that's not true.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So that was sort of our process. And we just more wanted to get the idea out of meet individually, then come together to talk, and then individually do the brain dump, and then organize it a little bit, and then come talk. But I feel like now maybe we can move into what are some tips that we found that help set goals that you'll actually keep. Right. Because that's a piece of it too, right? How many New Year's resolutions do you make that you don't actually keep? Cool. Go for it.
Okay. So our first best practice with the goals is to set goals about the process. So the reason we said this, and we didn't really get into how to set a goal, but a goal needs to be measurable. Or like we did get into how to set a goal, but we didn't get into a goal needs to be something you can say, yes, I did this.
You don't want to say, I want to be healthy in 2019. You want to say, like,
what does that mean?
Lose 10 pounds in 2019.
Yeah, but I know, but the problem is...
That's teeing you up to talk about this.
Okay, so I noticed as I looked at some previous goals of mine that I think that losing 10 pounds has been on my to-do list for the last, 10 years. And I don't think I've done it.
You're such a waif. How could you lose any more weight?
Right. Well,
you're perfect just the way you are.
There were times that was probably true, but at this point it's not. And I think it's defeating to me to see that every year. So being about the process, for example, would be, how am I going to lose 10 pounds? So I'm going to eat paleo 6 days a week and exercise 3 days a week. So having some things that are more tangible, and it's not really important if I lose 10 pounds. I mean, for some reason mentally that was a thing I wanted to do, but it'd be more important that I be healthy and fit.
So it's like committing to the process, not the end goal,
right, as
you set your goals.
Yeah, because I think even though losing 10 pounds for me is obviously tangible, if I didn't go to breaking that down, I never really had a plan to do that. It was more of a dream than a goal, even though it was tangible, I would say. So our next thing is to not have too many goals.
And we talked about this when we first started talking about prioritizing your priorities.
Right. I think, or even it's okay to maybe have a lot of goals, but you're not going to be able to change a million things at once unless you're like moving into a facility that's going to like regiment your whole life.
So barring you moving into some sort of facility that's going to regiment your whole life, and there could maybe somebody's joining the military. It could happen.
Maybe it's kind of like the homecoming thing.
Unless you're moving into some sort of military facility that regiments your whole life, you're probably not going to be able to achieve more than 2, maybe 3 goals in each category.
Don't let Philip limit you, though. I'm not saying you can't do that over the course of the year. So it's not bad to have a lot of goals, but be realistic about what you can do in like a month.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But if we could move the ball forward in 2 ways, with our personal health, with our family, with our marriage, with our business, we would be a lot better off at the end of the year. But sometimes it's hard to lose sight of that when there's like 20 things you wish were different. It's probably better to key in on a couple of those than think that you're going to be able to make like 100 million bajillion quintillion
Googleplex.
Things
Well,
happen.
and I think as I looked back at previous year's goals, I found all I did was a couple things. So I did see changes. Like one of my goals at one point was to prioritize friendships, which is sort of vague, but then I broke it down to I'm going to start doing book club, and I'm going to volunteer with this organization that my friends are a part of, so that I kind of am putting times that I'm going to see people in my calendar, because in previous years I had worked so much that it was easy to not prioritize friendships. And then I can say, oh, I feel like I've done that, but I didn't do every goal. Right. So there were definitely I had maybe 10 goals last year, and I could see how some of them had come to fruition.
And I feel like maybe that leads into the next thing, where a lot of times you set goals and then they just stay on your computer or somewhere that you don't reference often.
Right.
But probably it's a good idea to somehow keep your goals in front of you if you want to remember them and keep them up throughout the year.
Right. And so this couple that we listened to, I think they review them weekly. I think even just reviewing them monthly is a good thing.
So this year we're going to try to print out our goals and put them on the refrigerator, maybe put them upstairs in our bedroom.
I know.
Somewhere.
I don't know if I want everybody that comes to our house seeing my goals.
Maybe we'll do a Pentagon edited, blacked out version that goes on the fridge. Maybe you could do a little script or something. Because I have them in old 12-point Calibri, and I'm not thinking that that's what you want to look at all year.
Anyways, so yes,
maybe if
we're
I do
gonna
a Helvetica.
Well, and then
sans serif.
Oh my gosh, Philip.
Sans serif.
Wingdings.
Absolutely. I never really understood wingdings.
I don't think.
Do you want to go down that rabbit trail right now?
No, but I don't think wingdings is around anymore. I think you'd have to download wingdings to get it. But wingdings was the original emojis.
You think that's what it was?
It was. I just realized that.
Wingdings. Absolutely.
Okay. So what was I trying to say before wingdings?
The goals need to stay in front of you.
Yes.
You don't want
my new calendar.
You don't want to air out your dirty underwear for everybody to see.
Can I talk, please?
I'll allow it.
Philip, does anyone else have a mind that if they can't get their thought out quickly, they will totally forget it? So then I get annoyed with my husband because he will not let me get my thought out.
Well, you start talking about wingdings, and it's hard to not really latch onto that. So I could have a long conversation about wingdings. Oh, did I do it again?
Yep. I finally settled on a planner. I had molded over for a long time, and it probably could have its own podcast because I gave it so much thought. But I decided to go with a nomadic planner, and I'll put a link to it. But on it, it has a space for goals and a monthly focus
Oh, so your planner is going to be a way that you're going to keep your goals in front of you.
Yes.
And it has like a system built in to allow that to happen.
Right. And I
see.
also like, because the second half of it is a notebook.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
So I'll put a link to it, but that's my planner for 2019.
Another goal that I'm going to try to see if we can make happen this year, and I think in a different way, you've brought this up too, is we're going to try to time block some of our important goals to create space to make it happen, because a goal that doesn't go into your calendar is going to have a lot harder chance of being successful. So you're fascinated by the Miracle Morning thing.
Yeah.
Which neither one of us know 100% about yet.
Right.
But just the idea that if you start off really well in the morning by getting a lot of stuff done, it sets you up for a win, throughout the rest of the day.
Yeah, we can put a link to that book in the show notes also. We haven't read it, but it's something that we have heard good things about. So we'll put a link to that as well. So I think we're such different personalities.
Really?
Yes, I think that's part of why our bit is...
I thought it was just a show we were putting on for the podcast.
I think that's why part of our bit is, if we can do it, anybody can, because it's not like we are not similar. And I would say most couples probably are not that similar. And if they are, there's probably problems they have because they're so similar.
It's the yin and the yang.
Okay, so...
yang.
No, see, my thing is saying so, but now I forgot what I was going to say.
Oh, did I do it again?
No, it was more my tangent got so long.
But we're different.
Oh, I know what it was.
Anybody can do it.
Yes. And Philip it was December 17th, and he wanted to time block our goals for January.
I just wanted to create a template for what a week would look like that would make sure that we had integrated in all of the different goal categories and had time to complete them.
And so I'm like pro that, but it's also hard because I'm like half stay-at-home mom still, and a lot of times stuff comes up and I'm a little bit scattered. But I just felt like railroaded by you, because you were like, let's set this up now. And I'm like, I can't.
And while I still think that would have been an effective use of our time, I appreciate how you're different than me with that. And so I'm okay waiting for the new year to try to do stuff like that.
And I think that's the thing that's been helpful is I feel like I've learned more about myself, and I've learned more about you, especially through the E word.
Oh, the E word.
The Enneagram. Okay. That I know it's hard for me to nail down stuff like that this far out. But I said to Philip, I'm like, I still think that's a good idea, but I think I'm going to need to do it as it gets closer, and maybe we re-nail it down like every week.
And for me, I find the freedom to like just enjoy life in the present by knowing that the big picture is nailed down. Mm-hmm. So that's why I want to do it. But you're right, knowing that that's not necessarily right or wrong, it's just how each one of us are wired.
Right.
Helps me to be okay saying, yeah, you're probably right, we can do this in January.
Right.
And helps you be able to say, yeah, you're probably right, we should do this in January.
Yeah, and if you are married or have a really good friend or whatever, I really think learning these things about yourself, these tendencies,
or maybe a cat. Maybe know the Enneagram
cat that you're really close to.
My cat is a 9, peacemaker. No cats are like that.
I don't know. I think cats could be 9s. Okay, anyways. I think for me, it's been so helpful because then you see these same patterns happen over and over again. And once you understand them, it's easier not to be frustrated by them.
Totally.
Right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So what we've talked about, don't try to set goals around too many things. Make goals around the process and not around the results. Time block. Make sure that the goals go from your goal sheet to your calendar and keep them in front of you, so that you're referring back to them and living sort of by the goals and not just randomly.
The last thing?
And I feel like the last thing after all of that, because at the end of the day still, how often have you set like a New Year's resolution or goals at the beginning of the year and actually kept them as of like February 1st?
Especially if they haven't been in front of you.
Not very often, even if they've been in front of me,
Right.
not very often. So I feel like, too,
brings
there's
us
also
to our last point.
an element where you also just realistically give yourself grace.
Right.
Because it's really hard to do this. Change is hard. Creating new habits is hard. Oh, can I give one other, this is just bonus tip.
Absolutely.
Inside joke.
That was not that
from the
funny.
I know, it was a forced laugh.
Okay.
To say, look at our inside joke that we've created amongst ourselves here in our basement. We are giving some of our goals a test run in December instead of waiting till January. So we are going to try this year to have our kids do chores and them earn like a commission off of each chore that they do. But instead of waiting till January 1st to doing it, we're giving it a trial run now.
Yes.
Because why do you need to wait till January 1st to do something? And hopefully we could like give it a try now and maybe change up anything we need to change so that we could be more successful at it after the holidays.
Yep.
Bonus tip.
Bonus pro tip. All right, so that's it. And you can find the link to our goal setting sheets in the notes of the show. Should I just start that over again?
Oh no, we're keeping that in.
Oh man. Okay. There's a link to this
Rewind.
PDF. There's a link to this PDF in the show notes or at our website, onedelightfulshop.com.
Boom. That's going to do it for this week's episode of One Delightful Podcast.
You can find us on Instagram at One Delightful Shop or on our website, onedelightfulshop.com.
And could we ask you, if it would not be too forward, to give us a small Christmas present? We are almost to 50 reviews on iTunes, and we would love it if you would hit subscribe and leave us a rating or review if you haven't yet, because we would like to get a nice round number before 2019.
Have you asked Santa for that, Philip?
Dad, go on it. I'm going to get on that right now.
Okay, so Philip's going to ask Santa for that. And if you also want to share it with a friend, that could be cool too.
Yeah, and make sure and check the show notes for links to all the stuff we talked about in the episode, including the goal setting worksheet.
Yes, and we'll be back with some great content in 2019.
See you soon.